If you haven't noticed, Bluesound just dropped a new Node music streamer. That's right, Bluesound has added yet another node to the renowned product line, called the Node ICON music streamer.
The Node ICON music streamer delivers an impressive hi-fi listening experience with technology upgrades, a complete redesign, and premium sound quality. Let's dive into the Node ICON and we'll tell you what makes this unit truly iconic.
So there have been many iterations of the Node over the years, and as you can tell, and if you're familiar with Bluesound products and the Node line specifically, this is quite different from what we've seen from them in the past. They've got a complete redesign. Tell us a little bit about it, Drew.
Yeah, so we've doubled in size. That's the first thing to note because there's twice the power of stuff that's going on in here, okay? We've got a touchscreen screen. We've got dual headphone outputs, so two people can now listen to the unit. It's using the THX amplifier setup that's been really popular with a lot of products these days. It's got separate brain to control all the software integration to make it fast so you can flow through music much faster than you could with the old products. We've now gone to a fully balanced DAC. We've got dual ESS chips, one for the right, one for the left. So we've got balanced and RCA outputs. We have the ability to use this as not only a fixed volume output to go into a preamp, but also you can do a variable control and now go straight into an amplifier. So then you have other options that sort of go hand in hand with that in terms of you've got trigger controls now. So now you can turn on and off your speaker amp from the icon when you turn this on. You've also got a subwoofer output. So when you go to, if you want to go directly to a subwoofer from the icon and use it as your direct digital preamp, if you will, you can do that. You've got digital inputs and outputs, coax, toslink, USB. You can use this as a standalone server and bypass all of the DAC. You can actually go into the software, turn off the DAC, and just use digital output into an upscaled DAC, if you will. Okay. You've got the ability to connect hard drives to it. And now you don't have to convert any of your DSD files to PCM, whereas we had to do that before with the old Bluesound stuff. Now you can play DSD straight through the ESS DACs here. You've got the ability in the future to do a DIRAC digital update, where essentially you use this to do room correction. Why is this also important? Well, we've got analog inputs, and analog inputs, we can't do a bypass of analog in, analog out, so there's also an analog to digital chip in here. So we're gonna convert all that analog to digital, so now do the DIRAC digital processing to take care of the boom in your room, and then do the decoding again and then output it. I mean, I can go on and on with the features. There's a ton of stuff here. The software has been improved. There's a whole lot more options on this unit because of all these things in the software that you'll notice. You also get an HDMI ARC connection. This is a two-way communication between your TV. So now you can send all the sound that goes into your TV from other sources into this and now through your system. You can do it via direct digital out into an external DAC or a home theater processor. I mean, you know, the bells and whistles go on and on. We've only doubled the price. Well, less than double the price because the original Node was $549. It's had some price adjustments here and there. But we're getting so many more features for this $999 price point. Yeah. It is a diehard at this price point. I did most of my listening because I can't do every configuration yet. So most of my listening was through a speaker system. And I compared it to a much more expensive $3,000 server who will remain nameless at this moment. And I only did, to be fair, because that only has RCA analog outputs, not a balanced DAC. So I did RCA to RCA. I'm gonna tell you, I was quite surprised at a third the price of that other piece, how good this sound. Did the other piece sound better? Yes, it had a little more bloom to it and a little more bottom end weight to it. But for the price point, holy cow, that it could compete with, you know, an over $3,000 server. Amazing, absolutely amazing.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with everything you said here. For the value, you're getting like a really exceptional product from Bluesound. We have pretty much tried almost every previous Node iteration here, had our hands on it at one point. I remember when I first started here, that was when the Node X, their limited edition, had just come out, so I got to listen to that.
Which had the THX amplifier in it.
Yes, yep. That one, really enjoyed the sound of that one. And I will say that the sound of the Node X closely resembles the sound of this. So when I did the Node X comparison, I compared it to the previous generation Node. They've changed the names so many times. I don't know if it was the Node 2i Node. I think it was the 2021 Node, it might have been. But the difference between those two models was incredible dynamics. in the Node X, and this just follows through and kind of just like enhances everything that I really liked about that model. My favorite part about this unit, I will say, you know, funny enough, is the addition of the touchscreen on the front. I mean, it doesn't really make that much of a difference, but you know, when you see music streamers on the market today, that's what most of them have. And I always felt like that was kind of something that like the Node was missing, because you know, you get the super cool touch panel on the top. So I was always just waiting for a screen. So when I saw this, I was really excited about the way that it looked.
Yeah, I mean, the original Node, just without the touchscreen and just its basic looks, seems a bit cheap, right? It's really light, it's really plasticky looking. This one's just, it's oozing a little bit more quality in terms of build quality and so forth. I haven't seen what the inside looks like yet. I haven't had time to tear this apart, and there haven't been anything on the web, but I imagine there's been some really good new circuit topology in here with the balanced outputs. I mean, we're now using a much more powerful DAC chip. We're using a separate chip for each channel, so there's no interference between the channels. You know, it'd be interesting to see what's going on with the power supply. You know, we're not using wall wart anymore, so now we've got a much better power supply, I'm assuming, in this to handle the processing power, the DAC, the display, all this stuff. So, I mean, this is a big upgrade, in my opinion, for Bluesound at not much a bigger price, if that's correct English. I don't even know, but you know, I think you're getting a lot for $1,000. Again, $1,000 isn't cheap to some people. It's not cheap to me. It's not cheap to anybody, but I think you're really starting to get your money here in terms of all of the options here. And if you go into the streaming services, you will see so many more options now than any other company out there that's doing streaming. I mean, Roon's only doing like, and this is Roon certified, by the way, but Roon within its core will only do Tidal and Qobuz. In here you can do Amazon, Nugs. I mean, I can't even list all of them. I mean, there's about 30 different streaming services, all the ones that people keep asking for on all these other products that we sell, that we're like, look, I'm sorry, it doesn't have that option. Maybe in the future, firmware update. Whereas Bluesound has really done their homework with the software, and they're giving so many options. So, I mean, that's huge right there, because, you know, what about the guys that are stuck with, you know, they just listen to Nugs and nothing else, and they've got no servers or streamers out there that they can use. So this is huge. So it's great product.
And kind of going off what you said about Bluesound and their streaming services, I think that's really one of the incredible values that you get with Bluesound. If you're not familiar with Bluesound, they offer a wireless ecosystem. So let's say you go ahead and you buy this, and then you want to go ahead and buy a Bluesound wireless speaker, you want to get the sound bar, hook up the whole home audio setup. Well, you could have them in entirely different rooms, and they all will work off each other in the same network, and you can play the same song, different songs. The BlueOS platform has just really evolved over the years, and I really feel like they've hit their sweet spot.
Yeah, and something really cool that a lot of people may not know, you know, the Bluesound speakers are really an all-in-one speaker that do left and right channel. But you can actually get two Bluesound speakers, put one on the right, one on the left, go into the software, configure it, and say, hey, I want this to go to the left one, I want this to go to the right one, so it's a true right and left speaker. And then you can actually have the big soundbar plus as the center channel. So you're now creating a home theater environment, and that's where the DIRAC comes in again, because now you can do, you know, you're correcting all of these different speakers that are tied into this. So it's basically going to go out and talk to each speaker and say, hey, this room's got these issues in it. I'm going to correct the frequency curve and improve things. So, I mean, this is almost like a home theater in a box, right? Yeah. I mean, you know, you're getting a lot of what you're getting in the home theater processors, but in a much more smaller package, and so many more flexibility options in terms of how you can configure it, either for 2-channel, for home theater, and all kinds of other stuff. And you can plug hard drives into it. You can do wired connection, which is what I recommend for Ethernet in your house, but you can also do Wi-Fi. It's got Bluetooth connection options. It has AirPlay too. I almost forgot about that one, which is really important to a lot of people. We're able to now do higher resolution protocols with AirPlay 2. It's also a two-way communication now. It's hard to cover all the bases on this. I mean, we'll have a lot of this information on the page. You got to do some deep reading. There's so many improvements and changes over the past models.
And we kind of wanted to give you guys an experience of what it would be like in 2 scenarios. So I opted for headphone listening, whereas Drew tested it out for speakers. My favorite part about this, and just a little tiny part, was the fact that they had put the headphone jacks on the sides. So right here on one side you got one, and you got another over here. Both of them are 1/4-inch headphone jacks, but the way I had this positioned at my desk, it was positioned to the left of me. So the fact that I didn't have the cord running out from the
straight at me at the keyboard, right? It always gets in the way, biggest problem. Yep.
And it was just to the side, had no issues with that right there. I just thought that that was a really unique thing. I don't know if that's something that you really
I don't know that they thought about that. I mean, I think they wanted to go with a really clean front design, but you know, I was thinking about the same thing when I was looking at it. I was like, do I like the fact that these are on the side? But then I thought about in a computer setting, every amplifier that I put on my desk to test with a keyboard is the cable is always in the way.
Yes.
Always in the way. It doesn't matter whether I'm doing single-ended, a small connection, a 1/4 inch, a balanced, it's always going straight out at me. Over the keyboard, I gotta drape it over sideways and type and so forth. So for desktop systems, this is really cool. Great idea. And in fact, you can use this as a desktop system with some powered speakers. Again, going back and using this as a digital preamp, you've got the balanced output, so you can go to the focal shapes, which have balanced input, so you can do a whole balanced desktop setup. Well, I didn't even think about all that until just now, but I mean, I think that's real. This is a really cool desktop audio setup. I gotta go back to the display. I mean, I love seeing the music I'm listening to. It always bothered me about the Node that I always had to have a phone or an iPad in my hand looking at what's playing. Whereas sometimes I just wanna look over, you know, a song comes on Radio Paradise, which is what I've got playing now, and I can see what the artist is and I can write down the name if I really like them so I can stream them later, right? But you couldn't do that with the regular Node. So I'd have to pull up my phone or my iPad when I was on the computer. It was, it was distracting.
Yep, and while the display screen in the front isn't a touch screen, you can control the basic functionality using the top panel right here, which is touch screen. You got your volume control slider right here. Also, when you're not playing music from the Node, it'll get rid of the album art on the front right here and it'll show a clock. That was another little like neat thing that I liked. So if you had it like, let's say, set up on your mantle or right underneath the TV or whatever setup you've got going on, you look over real fast and you get to see the time. As it goes for headphones, I listen to these with the Noir X by Dan Clark Audio. I've been loving these recently. They have not left my desk for weeks. Sorry guys. Dan Clark Audio headphones can be notoriously on a little bit of the harder side to drive, given that they're planar magnetics. I didn't have any problems.
Yeah, the THX is powerful, so it'll drive a lot of headphones. I don't know if it'll drive the old Susvaras, but we'll have to try these with the new Susvaras. I bet it has no problem.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it at all. And I think that's just a really nice thing about it, because if you're somebody who has a large collection of headphones, and even if you buy this with the intention of not using it or headphone listening, and you want to configure it into your loudspeaker setup, just knowing that you're not going to have problems pairing any of your headphones with it is always really nice.
And one little trick I would like to tell everybody about Bluesound. I would highly recommend the first time you set up any of your Bluesound stuff, do a wired connection. It's so much easier to deal with, especially if your product's going to have a firmware update. The speakers have firmware updates all the time. And if you're on Wi-Fi, it can constantly want to loop back and do a recertification and make sure the download came down properly and whatnot. Set it up on a networked wired connection to start with, then move it to wherever you want it to be wireless if you can't get a wire there. I always recommend doing wired if you can do it, but always try and do the setup first from a wired connection and then go to the Wi-Fi option to move it to that weird location that you don't have a connection point. So
yeah, that's the way that we're listening to it, is through a wired connection. That's how I had it set up. I got my hands on the Node icon first, had it at my desk, and when I was listening to it and had it initially set up, configuration was easy. It performed one little firmware update fresh out of the box, less than like 3 minutes, and I was off to listening. Went over to Rune, got that set up real quick as an audio zone, less than a minute, and I was just kind of bouncing between the two of them, whether I wanted to explore some of the internet radios that are offered through BlueOS's platform. You can access BlueOS on your iPhone, Android products, tablets, laptops. I had it on my PC computer, so that was really nice to just be bouncing between the screens, clicking real fast. I didn't have any problems with the BlueOS software.
And let's say that you want to use some sort of app that they don't have in their 20 to 30 options, right? You can still Bluetooth AirPlay 2 with iOS, an Apple device, to this and use whatever streaming service you want to. So you can also use this to stream YouTube from your phone or your tablet or your TV if you want to watch and listen to video and send it straight to this. You can do it that way because the BlueOS app will only let you do music, but if you want to do video as well, then you can do anything with AirPlay 2. There's so many different things, I can't even remember everything. It's a kitchen sink. I love this piece.
Yeah, I will say that they are offering you tremendous value for the price point. For $1,000, if you're somebody who is looking to upgrade your home audio setup and you want to get into that music streaming, but you don't know who to choose, Bluesound
Yeah.
The Node icon, it's a great option. Really any product within their Node series is awesome, but this one being, you know, all the rage right now, we're really impressed with the Node icon. I look forward to seeing what they're gonna do in the future just because they hit it out of the park with this, and this is so different from what we've seen from them in the past.
Yeah. So why don't we take a look at the back panel and all the connections that are going on here, and I can point them out to you. So first we've got the analog inputs. And again, Dirac will do a digital conversion from analog to digital, do some DSP correction, and then improve the sound in your listening environment. Now, something that I didn't talk about earlier, which I would, and this is a hint to Bluesound, this would be really cool. So now that we've got room control and we've got headphone amps here, it would be really cool if they could do some Dirac for headphone listening. So hint to you guys, Bluesound. So then just below that, we've got the analog outputs, both RCA and then XLR below. So we can do single-ended or balanced outputs, like I said, to maybe balanced monitors on your desktop, maybe to a balanced preamp, or you can even send some to two different systems, one that's a balanced system, one that's a single-ended system. Then we've got our coax digital input. And then below that, we've got the subwoofer output that I talked about, which I'm pretty sure that you'll be able to do maybe even with I'm assuming with the Bluesound subwoofer, as well as the subwoofer that's connected to this connection, do the Dirac DSP corrections as well. Then we've got two Toslink inputs, input and output. We've got two USBs. Now, these are for connecting hard drives. Then the network connection below there. Maybe even some other options with that USB would be to connect to a computer to do that firmware update. I'm not sure if they're gonna do the firmware update via the USB-C or the A's, because the C, which is to the left of it, is really primarily designed to do audio. And you'll see we've got our Silver Dragon premium cable here. I'm gonna be doing some bench testing with this cable and some DACs in the coming weeks. Then we've got the HDMI connection for the ARC. We've got the trigger connections for connecting to an amplifier or a preamp to essentially turn those on when you turn on the icon from your phone or whatnot. And then below that, the power connections. You know, lots of options here, lots of bells and whistles of different things you can do. And, you know, I want to say about the digital outputs that I didn't talk about earlier, you've now got a much higher resolution output that you can go to your DACs. In terms of PCM, we're now at 192. In DSD, you can do up to 11.2. You know, so lots of improvements in terms of the technology and the resolution of the audio formats that you're playing around with.
The Bluesound Node icon offers a sparkling glimpse into what we can expect to see from future Bluesound Node models.
Having come a long way from the first generation Node, the Node icon represents the 21st century with its fancy display screen and complete redesign. Well done, Bluesound. We're a big fan and we can't wait to see what you guys come up with next.
If you like this video, give us a thumbs up and hit that bell to subscribe to our channel. We've also got a full written review of the Node icon linked in the description below, so if you haven't checked that out, head over to moon-audio.com and do so. Thanks so much for watching.
See you next time.